All right. Today in Albany, Governor Cuomo gave his annual State of the Budget address, but the rah-rah attitude may not be shared by a lot of New Yorkers or, frankly, by lawmakers who would have to put his plans into practice. Andrew, tell me more about, I heard a lot of big ideas in that State of the State address here, but I kept asking people, how the heck are we going to find the money for it?
You may not like the ideas on how to pay for it that Governor Cuomo has come up with, Rich. The budget is 5% larger than last year, as the governor knocking down a $1.3 billion deficit and is actually increasing spending and education spending while holding the line on taxes. That's the good news. Where's the cash coming from? Well, the governor wants to eliminate the pleading down of speeding tickets. That means more cash for Albany. Plus, he wants an $80 state surcharge on low-level traffic offenses and minimum fines for anybody who's texting while driving or using the phone while driving. Governor calling for limits on how much people making more than $10 million can deduct for charitable donations in the state. He wants a new royalty tax on corporations, extend assessments on utilities in the state. But guess what? Those costs are likely going to be passed on to consumers. Cuomo betting on gambling. He wants to expand quick draw lottery ticket sales. And he is including and banking on revenues from down the road from his plan to open 7 casinos in the state. He's calling for deferments in state payments to health providers, both in direct aid and cost of living adjustments as well. Reaction in Albany pretty tame, surprisingly. Both leaders of the state Senate, Republican Dean Skelos and Independent Conference Leader Jeff Klein, with statements not exactly praising the Cuomo plan, but not exactly trashing it either. Skelos going so far as to call himself encouraged, but you know how this works, Rich. They're going to look at the details and they'll come up with reasons to object to it later.
Okay. Dominic, you've been in enough of these things. Simple math says, wait a minute, I'm short money, but not going to raise any taxes, and I'm going to spend more over here. But don't worry, everybody, everything adds up.
It's Albany math. Come on.
Oh, my God.
Show me the money.
We're going to have a brand new bridge connecting you to come to us every night here with the Tappan Zee. It's $3.5 billion.
Oh, that's
probably
my
closer to
bridge?
$5.
That's
It's your
that's a
fault.
bridge
It's
just
your
for
fault.
me.
Yeah. Well, my point is, how are we paying for that? Oh, these casinos. Oh, yeah, we'll get the money. We don't even know where they are. It's just such funny
They're
math.
not in the city of New York. We know that much.
Okay.
Now, here's where, well, the devil is always in the details when it comes to the budget. On the day that any governor, not just Mr. Cuomo, any governor announces in his budget address, we won't really know the answers until a couple of weeks down the road. But I will say this, it's key here, you said no new taxes, and the governor is correct. No new taxes. But what he's not saying in his address and where some of this money is going to come from, he's extending some taxes that were due to sunset. So you see, when you run for president and you say you didn't raise taxes, technically you are correct. All you did was extend taxes. And so on that surcharge,
Yeah.
you know what, if you plead down a ticket, the governor's
Which
talking
we all
about people,
have,
right.
yeah.
So if you were speeding doing 75, hint, hint, and you plead guilty
Dominic Carter Bridge.
on the Dominic Carter Bridge, and you plead guilty, the fine is only $50, but your ticket is $250.
Right.
So now you know where part of that money is going.
See, we're
But
not
still,
going to raise your
it's
taxes.
such
It's just going to cost you more
it's
for
such
everything.
a crock. Like, that's going to make up the
Right,
difference.
right.
Speeding tickets
Right.
and you know.
It's not.
But Jessica, then everybody else later on says, "Oh my God, Skelos, why didn't he throw his hands up and say what the heck?" He was like, "Oh, sounds good." Klein, I don't know what he is today, Democrat, Republican, who the heck knows, right? He's cool with it. Everybody's fine with it because they're all doing the same dance. But it's funny math.
It's Albany math, as I like to call it, which is never quite reality. And you have this sort of new world up there right now with the coalition Senate. So I think, I think it's expected that their initial reaction is just going to be a little bit tepid, and then we'll get into the details of it. And the legislature will pass their own budget.
Explain, by the way, to everybody what one-offs are, because that's a big part of this.
Right, that's when you get a one-shot injection of revenue that is not something that's going to come down the road year to year. And one of the things that
One shots are bad. They're very bad.
Right, because it's
not reoccurring
inflated
revenue.
So, but one of the things that I thought was is going to be very problematic for the governor that he hasn't really dealt with in a big way is mandate relief, which is when the state passes laws and programs that and doesn't come up with the money to fund them and passes that down to the local municipalities and school districts and counties, and they are in very big trouble. Syracuse,
You talk to county execs and mayors, they're
all
pulling
the
their hair out
time.
now.
They are, and he didn't even mention it in his State of the State address, which I think made a lot of the municipalities very nervous and offered very minimal assistance in in his budget address. And now with the 2% tax cap coming, without that relief, it's going to present very, very difficult budget decisions.
A lot
for
of money
people.
we don't even know is going to come in.
Well, but here's the other part of the equation. Here's why you're not hearing from Skelos or from Klein or what. Nobody wants to take on Mr. 70%. I mean, nobody wants to stick their head in the way of his popularity. He's the most popular guy in state politics. Nobody really understands the budget to that great a degree. It still hasn't been fleshed out and all. So why is anybody going to go out on the line and go out on a limb and object to this thing right now? They'll kill it legislatively. They'll kill parts of it where they can.
All right. We will move from the joys of Albany to Washington, and not the politics of it, but the sights and sounds and some of the question marks that came out of last night's celebration in the day as well, including why didn't Beyonce exactly sing? We'll talk about that and more after this.